The train glided across the French countryside like a silver serpent under a pale spring sky. Sherlock Holmes sat bolt upright, fingertips steepled, eyes half closed, not asleep, but coiled with thought. "We are not, you understand, on holiday," Holmes murmured suddenly. Watson smiled. "I gathered as much. It was the telegram from Inspector Duval that convinced me. Murder, antiquities, utmost discretion. Such words do not invite leisure." Holmes's lips twitched. "You recall Duval from the affair of the Silver Peregrine?" "How could I forget? He insisted on calling me doctor in reverent tones." Holmes's gaze sharpened. "Let us hope he reserves his reverence for the truth this time. A certain medallion is at the center of this business, Phoenician, said to be nearly 3,000 years old. It was excavated from a burial mound near Marseille, brought to Paris for study. Then, within days, the lead archaeologist is found dead in his lodgings. The medallion vanished. And Duval suspects?" Holmes opened his eyes fully. "He suspects too much and too little. He fears the relic carries a curse, which is to say he has no theory at all. Such superstition is usually a disguise for ignorance." The evening shadows lengthened as their train arrived at the Gare de Lyon. Paris in the twilight smelled of rain, smoke, and bread, and the lamps along the boulevards flickered like rising stars. Duval greeted them beneath the station clock. A stout man with melancholy eyes and a waxed mustache that drooped as though wearied by its own ambition. "Messrs," he said with a solemn bow, "I am in your debt already. The death of Professor Armand Vallin has caused whispers, of ghosts, of curses, of scandal." Holmes inclined his head. "Let us dispense with whispers. Facts first." They climbed into a fiacre that rattled through narrow streets toward the Latin Quarter. Duval recounted the essential details. Vallin, celebrated but controversial, had announced that the medallion proved early Mediterranean trade deeper into Gaul than scholars believed. That claim, if verified, would append many reputations. "He kept the relic in his rooms?" Holmes asked. "Locked in a steel strong-box," Duval answered. "Yet the box was open when we found him." Professor Vallin lay upon the floor, his face blue, his fingers clenched about nothing at all. There were no wounds. "Poison, perhaps," Watson suggested. Duval nodded. "Our physician believes so. But no vial, no residue. And there is this." He produced a small envelope. Inside lay a scrap of paper bearing a neat, academic hand. "I know what you did beneath the stones. Return it." Holmes read it twice. "A threat," he murmured. Written by someone who knew Vallin intimately, or wished to appear so. They reached Vallin's building, a tall, aging structure with shutters that creaked like old bones. Inside, the air smelled of dust and violets. A young woman rose from a chair in the hallway, eyes red-rimmed. Duval introduced her as Elise Fournier, the professor's assistant. "I will answer anything," she said softly. "He did not deserve such an end." Holmes bowed courteously. "We are honored by your help. Tell me, who had reason to resent Professor Vallin?" Her hesitation was brief. "Many. The museum curator, Monsieur Leclerc, despised that the professor worked independently. And Professor Dubois, his former mentor, he accused Vallin of stealing credit for the excavation." Holmes moved through the room as one reads a book, page by page. He examined the open strong-box. The desk cluttered with sketches of the medallion. A disc inscribed with concentric waves around a stylized sun. He paused beside the hearth. "There was a fire last night," Watson observed. Holmes stooped, brushing ashes aside. "A fire, yes, but something burned that was no ordinary paper." He retrieved a faint metallic flake. "Vellum, perhaps. Someone tried to destroy a document more precious than the medallion itself." Elise clasped her hands. The professor said the medallion was only half the discovery. There was a parchment sealed against it when they unearthed it. He believed it described the medallion's origin. "And where is it now?" Holmes asked. "He claimed to have misplaced it. I never believed him." Holmes studied the window latch. "Forced from within," he mused. "Duval, was the door locked when you arrived?" "Yes." "Then our murderer possessed a key or was admitted freely." Watson examined Valin's body where it lay, covered by a sheet. The bluish tinge at the lips and the faint almond smell told its story. "Cyanide," he said quietly. Holmes nodded. "Quick, sure, and easily concealed. But how administered?" His answer came as he unscrewed the professor's inkwell. A sour chemical tang rose. Holmes's eyes gleamed. The killer doctored his ink. One blot of the pen to the tongue, an old habit of Valin's, no doubt, and the deed was done. "Mon Dieu," Duval breathed. "But who?" Holmes replaced the cap carefully. "Let us visit Monsieur Leclerc at the museum." The Musée de l'Antiquité rose like a temple of rationality, columns, marble, and echoing corridors. Leclerc received them in his office with a smile that never reached his eyes. "Gentlemen, this tragedy embarrasses us deeply. Valin frequently overstepped. He refused to place the medallion in our cases, insisting it was not ready." Holmes leaned casually against a cabinet. "Because of the parchment." Leclerc stiffened. "What parchment?" Holmes allowed a thin silence to bloom. "The one you attempted to burn last night, only partially successful. The professor's fireplace bore its remains." Leclerc's fingers drummed. If such a document existed, it should have belonged to the museum. Watson stepped forward, as should his life. A flicker of anger crossed Leclerc's features. "I did not kill him. Yes, I sought the parchment. He was reckless with heritage. But murder? No." He handed Holmes a ledger reluctantly. "See, on the night he died, I was attending a gala. Scores can attest." Holmes scanned the signatures. "Verifiable. Yet your interest in the parchment is instructive. Good day, monsieur." Outside, Duval exhaled. "He lies about nothing, and yet he lies about everything." "Precisely," Holmes said. "He desired the discovery, but not blood. That leaves Dubois, or someone more obscure." "Or me," Elise said quietly. She had followed at a distance. "I translated the parchment with the professor. It warned that the medallion marked the resting place of a war chieftain, and that disturbing him would invite the price of ashes." Professor Valin laughed. Holmes studied her. "And you did not?" "I feared ridicule if I spoke." Holmes's voice softened. "Superstitions persist because they cloak human designs. Tell me, where was Dubois when Valin died?" "At his townhouse on the Rue des Écoles," Duval said. "He claims to have been nursing a cold." "Then let us bring him a basket of fruit," Holmes replied. Professor Dubois was a tall, elegant man. He accepted them stiffly. "I mourn Valin," he said. "A brilliant student who forgot his debts." Holmes eyed the study, shelves of clay shards, labeled meticulously, a writing desk immaculate to the point of obsession. "Your relationship deteriorated after the excavation." Dubois's lips tightened. He became flamboyant. He chased donors, made promises the evidence could not sustain. That medallion, if genuine, would rewrite our maps. I suspected forgery. Holmes lifted an eyebrow. "You felt your reputation under threat." "We all did," Dubois replied coolly. "Yet I am no murderer." Holmes walked to the window, noting the discoloration on Dubois's fingers, yellowed tips. "You smoke almonds." Dubois blinked. Watson's eyes widened. Holmes plucked a cigarette from the tray. "Bitter almonds, cyanide's cousin. A chemist might procure it easily." Dubois's composure cracked. "Yes. I use minute quantities for laboratory demonstrations. Under license." Holmes set the cigarette down. "Under license, indeed. One last question. Did Valin ever ask you to authenticate a parchment?" Dubois hesitated, then nodded. "He sent a portion weeks ago. It contained a riddle, where water forgets the sky and the sun is borrowed. I dismissed it as poetic nonsense." Holmes's face lit. "Poetry often hides directions." "Thank you, Professor." Outside, Watson tugged at Holmes's sleeve. "What did you hear in that phrase?" "Think, Watson. Water forgets the sky. A well, perhaps, or a canal tunnel. The sun is borrowed, a reflecting mirror. And what in Paris combines both? Watson frowned, then brightened. The Medici fountain in the Luxembourg Gardens. A shaded pool, flanked by mirrors. Holmes's smile was thin. Precisely. If the medallion marks a resting place, our culprit may attempt to hide it where symbols echo. Night had settled by the time they reached the gardens. The fountain loomed, statues staring in stone disapproval. The pool lay dark, its surface ink-still. Suddenly, a figure knelt beside it, lowering a small casket into the water. Holmes advanced silently. "Good evening, Mademoiselle Fournier." Elise whirled around, water splashing. In the moonlight her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "I am returning it. The parchment said it belonged with the dead." Watson stared. "You? But—" Holmes raised a hand. "You poisoned him after he ignored your warnings. The parchment terrified you, not because of curses, but because it revealed that Vallon intended to sell the medallion privately. What you did beneath the stones, he removed the chieftain's offerings, stripped a tomb for profit. You believed the past deserved guardians, not thieves." Tears glimmered. "He swore he would use the money for more digs. But I saw the letter of intent from a collector in Vienna. He laughed when I confronted him." Her breath shuddered. "I knew he touched his pen to his tongue when nervous. I replaced the ink. I thought it would frighten him. I did not know how quick, how cruel it would be." Holmes's voice was grave. "Intent follows action, mademoiselle. You planned his death, whether you foresaw the swiftness or not." Duval stepped forward with cuffs glinting like sorrow. "Elise Fournier, you are under arrest." She surrendered quietly, the casket slipping from her hands into Duval's grip. Holmes retrieved it and opened the lid. Inside, the medallion lay dull yet strangely luminous, etched with its patient sun. "See how human hands weave curses," Holmes murmured. "Ignorance breeds greed. Greed breeds fear. And fear—" He closed the casket. "Fears kill." The next morning, they stood with Duval beside the Seine. The case was concluded. The medallion would return to the museum under stricter oversight. Elise confessed fully. Dubois, humbled, agreed to publish the truth about the excavation, acknowledging both its promise and its ethical failings. Even Leclerc, chastened, pledged transparency. Watson watched barges drift under bridges like slow dreams. "Do you believe in curses, Holmes?" Holmes lit his pipe. "Only those that men place upon themselves. A relic 3,000 years old has survived empires, floods, and neglect. It is not the gold that is cursed. It is the hearts that covet it." Watson nodded. "And Vallon?" "A brilliant scholar," Holmes said softly, "who forgot that the dead, though silent, still demand respect. In violating that, he laid snares for others and stepped into the first himself." Duval clasped their hands warmly. "Paris owes you." Holmes shrugged. "We merely followed the footprints people leave when they lie to themselves. They are the deepest of all." The bells of Notre Dame tolled across the river, solemn and clear. They turned toward the station, the city stirring around them, ancient and modern at once. And as the train bore them homeward through the fields of France, Watson reflected, once again, that wherever mystery chose to bloom, Sherlock Holmes would find the thread, tug it, and reveal the pattern beneath.